Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Now available on Apple Podcasts, PodcastOne, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
I'm hanging out with Bill Goldberg at the Goldberg compound. Amazing. Right now, we're going to sit outside and shoot the breeze and tell a few stories. I'm right now in the top of, what is this compound? Because the house is over there, Bill. You've got like 18 or 20 badass or 25 badass cars. We're in your personal gym right now. So tell me about this structure we're in.
Just call it the Goldberg Garage, man, with a little bit of a weight room on top of it. That's how I like to describe it. Dude, you know, man, I just, at the end of the day, man, I'm a separatist. I don't like human beings too much, and so when I don't have to work, I kind of hang out on my little island here, and I don't want to have to go to a gym, and so I get on my four-wheeler and I come up here every night when the family goes to sleep, and I don't want my cars at a museum, so I can't touch them and drive them and stuff, and so the fuckers are downstairs, you know, so.
Dude, I tell you what, it's funny when I talk to Brock Lesnar, he goes, quite frankly, Steve, I just don't like people too much. And it's not that I don't like people. Brock is just a very private person, man. I'm as private probably just about like you are, but, man, I live right down there in Marina Del Rey. I don't have the compound or the space. You've got a great buffer out here, man. It's extremely private. This gym is exact perfect size for one man. You got all your shit. You got a couple of hammer strength things. How often are you in here? I mean, like, what is your training done? Dude, you're beat to shreds. Okay, what?
It may not look like it, but I'm here. I mean, when I'm in town, I'm here every night. I mean, if I was here every night, if I was here for a week, then I'd be here 6 nights out of that week.
Okay, what are you doing with your training anymore? Because back in the day, dude, when you were running roughshod in WCW, I thought you were one of the biggest, most powerful, explosive guys. I ain't blowing smoke. Some of the shit you were doing down there with your athletic ability, and that's ever been in the business. So due to the beatings you've sustained,
I take offense to that
career,
because you say that in a negative way, and that it was a has, and I'm still not that guy. But hey, man, the reality is that
basically what
I'm asking told me you're 51, and I'll be 50 this year, and we've been through a bunch of shit, and my training schedule is completely different. I mean, if you look on Twitter in the past week, CT Fletcher's a very good friend of mine, and CT reached out to you because he's such a huge fan of yours, that when he and I started becoming friends, and you know, obviously I'm trying to help him fulfill his dream and touch as many celebrities that he deems, you know, and on a pedestal as possible. So he loves you. He loved being in this movie, being in the background in this movie that I got him in. It's just, you know, you provide other guys that are cool opportunities that they can't get, but for you it's easy. He says, hey, man, can I be in the background of this movie? We shot in Compton. Well, I asked the director, and he turns out to be Mr. T in the freaking movie. It's one of the funniest things. Me and Don Fry had the first fight scene in a working car wash. You know, but stuff like that's cool, man, you know?
So what are you doing with your training?
My training, I see that bag right there, man. When I'm in town and I have time, I'm kickboxing 4 days a week. The only problem with that is that it's taxing on your toes because you break them a lot, and it hurts, you know, torn bicep. It hurts throwing punches. I gotta think about a punch for a second before I throw it, because I gotta tense up, you know, because all the connective tissue, it don't work like it used to.
Yeah, but you're throwing hard punches. Won't you just back off the horsepower and just?
I do,
okay.
Absolutely. I back off. There's no question, because I don't want to spar with guys and try to blow their heads off. You know, conversely, I don't want them to do that to me too. But just even going through the motion, the problem with backing off of it and delivering it with control is that you want to be precise with it, right? And so with being precise, you got to be quick. And so to get that fast muscle twitch fiber firing, you got to throw that thing right when you think of it. But my connective tissue, and you know, it's tough to throw stuff immediately without preparing for it first, setting up for it, and then throwing it with power. It's kind of like putting a buffer around it. That's my training now. But
what about all these? But what about all these weights?
But I mean, I train here too. I mean, when I do Muay Thai, I still train here every night. But I train completely different, man. I train by myself. I don't train 3 hours. I train for 45 minutes. I do a circuit deal that I've been doing for 15 freaking years. I don't go nearly as heavy as I need to. But the reality is, doing that 4 days a week, man, you melt freaking. I got cardio now. I go 10 rounds, 10 3-minute rounds with 30 seconds rest in between. You know, with a light heavyweight southpaw, that's a bad motherfucker, dude. And he's not trying to kill me, but we're trying to make each other work. And I mean, I got this thing called cardio now. I never knew it. I never even knew it in football. And I mean, let's be honest. What kind of cardio did I have to do to go out and, you know, squash guys? You know, I mean, that was one of my downfalls, is that, you know, not only could I not chain wrestle for a long period of time, I didn't have the cardio. I'd blow up like a fucking fish. But when I do that, now being as old as I am, I still want to fucking headbutt dudes. And so that I don't end up in jail, and then so that I don't hurt myself trying to hurt other people, I go to the gym, the Muay Thai gym that I've been a part of for 20 years. I'm part owner of it. I don't derive anything from it except for it's a place to go for the rest of my life, and it's a great place for my son to go. It's like 70% military. Ruben is the only 6th-degree Black Tiger Muay Thai instructor in North America. He's an ex-gunny. Like I say, like 75% of the people are ex-military in there, man. It's a great place for my kid to learn about life and about respect and about honor and about really, truly who the heroes are in the world. It's not the people you see on TV. It's the guys the blue-collar guys. So, and it gives me the ability to hit people and kick people in the head and knee them without going to jail. And I still can beat Goldberg in a way that, it satiates me. It's fun for me. But the drawback with that, bro, one time, I mean, I'm not going to tell everybody what I weighed, but one time, I mean, I reached a weight that was like frickin' freshman college days. Because, man, weight just melts off you when you do this thing called cardio. I never knew what it was.
But, dude, with your let's walk over here and look at some memorabilia I want to talk to you about. But now that you've been out of the rings for so long and you go to and you've been doing the kickboxing stuff 15, 20 years, when you got away from the business, was there, I'm sure you getting away from the business, you got your privacy back, but did you need a place to take your angst out? Was a ring or being in front of a crowd some type of therapy for you? Because
absolutely, no question. When I got out of playing football, dude, are you kidding me? I mean, the only thing I ever wanted to do was play football. It's not, and everybody knocks me because I'm not the guy who's, forever a wrestling fan. Fuck, man. I used to watch, Texas Championship Wrestling, the Von Erichs, fucking Bruiser Brody, Ernie Ladd, all that shit from the auditorium, with my grandmother, back when I was a little tiny kid, man. But I had 2 older brothers who weren't wrestlers. They were football players. All I ever wanted to do was play football, So when I got the ability to play in major college, when I was fairly successful and I went on and played a short period of time in the NFL, and I got that dream cut short, I didn't know what the fuck to do. I had no clue, no direction. I didn't finish college, and even if I did and had a degree, I didn't want to do anything. All I ever wanted to do was be that meathead. I wanted to be an intelligent meathead that was world-traveled and that knew what he was doing and that was an entrepreneur. But, when it's taken away from you, I went into depression for like 2 years.
Out of
I've
football?
said it. Yeah, and I've said it. It was in my book, and I've said it to people. But, part of the depression is not being able to find an outlet to squeeze, an outlet to hit, an outlet to, I'm just that guy. That's just me. I mean, I've always been the meathead that likes physical confrontation, whether it's competitive or whether it's just to get stress out, whatever. It's just me, man. And I've apologized for it a couple times, but I have no regrets, man. I mean, I enjoy being me. That part of me.
Man, out here at your compound, you're on, 30-plus acres?
Yeah.
It's so peaceful out here. I mean, it's...
when you go work, you have to go from 100... You have to be on. It's our duty to the public. It's our duty to every freaking kid that walks the planet that looks at Steve Austin and says, man, I want to be like him. When you're out in public, you have to be on key, on point, right? If you care about being that guy. I always cared about being that guy. I wanted to be that guy in football. But I wasn't that guy. Nobody knew who the Goldberg was playing football, except for he was the dude with the mullet hanging out, the guy fighting everybody. Yeah. But where was I, man? Christ.
I was talking about how relaxing it is out here. I mean,
okay, my point was that when you're on the road, when you're out in public, when you're working, you have to be on. And whether people realize it or not, whether that's you completely 100% of the time or whether it's you 50% of the time and you put that act on the other 50% of the time, it's taxing. It's tiring. Shaking hands, smiling, when you don't feel good, when you don't have sleep, when you haven't trained, when you haven't eaten. There's so many excuses we can come up with. But to me, it's very important to every time I walk out the door to be on, to be a hero for a kid, because that one day that I'm a dick, the one day that I don't feel like doing something is the day that that kid needs me, And I don't want to place any more stock in who I am or what I do to kids than there is. But if there's one kid that I pass by and I overlook and he needed me, then I failed. So my point is, when I go out and I got to be that guy, it's tough. So when I don't have to be that guy, I want my heartbeat to freaking go to zero.
So out here on the compound, as peaceful as it is, you have your wife and your son, so it's very peaceful.
There's nothing we need that we don't have here.
I know, but my point is, so you like being reclusive and you like being, you don't need the thrills of Los Angeles or the San Diego nightlife or restaurant after restaurant. You're cool just being here.
Brother, there's a place called the Belly Up Tavern. It's down south in Solana Beach. There's a place called the Pacific Coast Grill. The Belly Up Tavern is probably the coolest live music place you're ever going to see in Southern California. It's been there 50 years. My brother bought it like 25 years ago. I don't know. I've been there 10 times. His restaurant is 2 miles down the road. It's on the water in Del Mar. It's spectacular. I've probably been there 15 times. I've owned this house for 20 years. I go buy it when I go to the airport. But other than that, I'd rather just chill, man. I got my cars here, man. I got my 10-year-old boy, and I got a wife that I wanted my entire life to spend the rest of my life with. What else do I need except for to go out and, be able to earn money to put shoes on my boy?
I was cussing you a while ago because as we're sitting here looking around your the top of your gym where you have a couple of cars, and we're fixing to go downstairs and talk about some of your cars. But, man, you collected a lot of great memorabilia of your career, some of your old football helmets and stuff like that. And, man, I'm looking on your wall, and I'm seeing an autographed jersey from Mr. Earl Campbell, number 34 from the Houston Oilers. And that guy, along with Barry Sanders, but the way Earl ran, one of my favorite running backs of all time. Did you get a chance to meet Earl, or did you just get that signed?
I met Earl once. I told you a couple days ago when I got back from Jim Kelly's golf tournament that I do these golf things, and fortunately I learned how to play golf when I was playing with the Falcons. But to be able to rub shoulders with guys that you revere, the guys that have done stuff that you could only dream of, man, guys who are the top, 0.0%, whatever the is.
Hey, dude, are you mad?
I'll never rest that we didn't go at it, man. Never. Not because I don't.
But it was interesting.
I know it's timing.
When you came into WWE, I think I was, man, my head was in a completely different place. I was already.
Oh, and mine wasn't. Look at me.
No, but what year was that?
I don't even remember. I repress all those bad memories.
Because I got out in 03.
2000 I don't remember. 2004?
Well, I got out in 2003, so it hadn't been before that. So, I think I was already kind of having, ideas that I was about to get ready to go out, because after WrestleMania 19, when I had that meltdown right before the match, and that was going to be my swan song, we didn't tell anybody. But you came into the company, but they had different plans for you, and just our windows never crossed it. When WCW folded, you got the guaranteed money for a little bit, and that was smart.
Well, dude, why am I going to go to work for 50% of the money? You're kidding, right?
No, I'm just saying. I think it's a smart idea.
I still catch hell for that. Why didn't you go back for the fans?
No.
Okay, let's give you half of the money that I could, take for sitting at home. And by the way, I had a broken arm, by the way, at the time. I think the statute of limitations is done. So
yeah, but to your point, Dallas decided to go ahead and make the jump to WWE, and it didn't it didn't pan out for him. And Dallas is one of my best friends. But no, I'm not knocking you for that. I'm just saying that was the businessman move. Here's the thing: you made this statement a while ago. You're like, I was a football player who didn't really watch professional wrestling or wasn't a hardcore fan. And some people think that that's a knock. To me, if you get in the business of professional wrestling, I happen to grow up loving it. That doesn't mean anything as a businessman. If you get in and all you do is maximize your time that you're trying to make money as a businessman, it don't matter at the end of the day if you loved it since you were a kid or you just got at it from a businessman standpoint. At the end of the day, I tell all of these guys that I talk to on the phone from WWE, some of these guys that have been on the independent circuit for 10, 15 years, I said, brother, go in there and you get paid. You've been paying your dues forever. You paid your dues playing football. You got noticed and you got a damn break, and then you got the win streak. But my point is, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit if you love the business or not. It's cool if you do. But at the end of the day, if you don't end up with a bank account full of money because you tried your hardest to save money and not blow it all, if you don't have money at the end of the day, you did it wrong, whether you loved it or you didn't.
Here's the way that I kind of quantified my success, in that I was part of a match consistently that helped put people in seats so the other guys on the card could feed their family. I just so happened to be in that spot. I could possibly have it just as easily been the other guy, but I was that guy. So whether I looked upon it as a lifelong dream, whether I looked upon it as a complete business opportunity, I looked at it in the middle, more towards the business opportunity, because I had a dream taken away from me and I had to find something to satiate that fucking void that I
from football
was missing. Yeah. The way you overviewed it was absolutely correct, I believe, but I think that I've given some more ammunition to people throughout the years saying that, I didn't like the business because of things that I've said about people in the business and some of my dealings with them, and, the emotional way that I kind of react to things.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Most workouts are not that exciting, but there really is nothing more exciting and engaging than learning boxing and kickboxing. And that's exactly why people are saying that Fight Camp is the only workout they've stuck with. Fight Camp provides boxing and kickboxing workouts and tutorials that keep you engaged, learning, excited, and motivated, a program that's never boring and always challenging. Fight Camp brings the boxing gym to your living room with a tech twist. They provide all the gear, top trainers, and a new technology that tracks your punches, everything you need to get great workouts in. Basically, Fight Camp brings the boxing and kickboxing gym to you with fight-hardened trainers that combine cardio and conditioning in a full-body workout. Like any martial art, Fight Camp offers a lifelong journey of learning and improving. The Fight Camp app comes with over 600 workouts and tutorials for beginners, intermediate, and advanced boxers and kickboxers. And they are releasing 12 new workouts every week. Fight Camp uses new tech that tracks each punch you throw to measure speed, volume, and output. And you can compete on a leaderboard with people all around the U.S. And now, with their recently released Versus mode, you can challenge anyone to a workout, then go head-to-head and see who wins. This brings out the competitive nature in everyone, and it makes you work out so much harder without you even realizing it. Fight Camp is the perfect gift the entire family can enjoy and get competitive on. Fight Camp offers flexible financing for as low as 0% APR and $0 down. And now, as a limited-time holiday offer, get free shipping and a gift valued up to $109 with every Fight Camp package. Just go to joinfightcamp.com/Austin. That's right. Get free shipping and a gift valued up to $109 with your purchase. Bring an authentic boxing and kickboxing gym into your home with Fight Camp. To get your free gift, just go to joinfightcamp.com/Austin. joinfightcamp.com/Austin. How did the politics of WCW bode with you? Because
Well,
You come in, you turn
was
into a house
different.
of fire,
It
and
was
then all
different.
of a sudden, but then you learned your worth, and then all of a sudden,
But I never took advantage of my worth at WCW when I knew it except for at the end. I remember one time that jersey. I was sitting in the stands that game.
And you're pointing at a Dallas Stars hockey jersey.
I was sitting in the stands. I was Brett Hull's guest with my brother Steve. And we were sitting with Brett Hull's wife. They're playing the New Jersey Devils. Okay? And I had a commercial with Little Caesars that we were negotiating, and we were trying to get WCW to the table at the same time to renegotiate my contract. This was the big one. This was the one when Goldberg was Goldberg, and we knew what was going on. And so I'll never forget. I get the phone call from Barry Bloom that says, you have to be in Atlanta, Georgia to film the Little Caesars commercial by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm sitting in the freaking stands at Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. And for me, football's awesome, but, Stanley Cup. But what these guys go through to get that cup's unbelievable. So I'm sitting there, and so whatever, I get charter plane. I don't give a fuck, whatever it is. I'm staying at this game. So I said, Barry, I'll be there, 6 o'clock, whatever. So that's a completely different story about how I got that jersey and how I ended up drinking out of the cup that night with the people that were competing against the guy who I had tickets with for. I was drinking with New Jersey at the end of the night. And I was there with Dallas. So, it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. But anyway, needless to say, we flew to Atlanta, and I filmed the Little Caesars commercial. So to answer your question in a very long-winded way, that was one time when they want me to sign the whatever it was. And I get a phone call from Henry Holmes and Barry Bloom. Don't sign it. Whatever you do, don't sign it. If the commercial implies that you're eating this pizza without you signing it, you got him. I don't sign it. Ming and I are going through the commercial. We're wrestling. We look over. There's pizza. We sit down. We don't eat it, but the camera cuts away and it cuts back, and the pizza's half gone. Fast forward to my comeback. Megadeth's playing. And I'm in with John Taylor, my lawyer. And all of a sudden, I don't go out. We haven't gone to the table to do the contract. All of a sudden, we're sitting up in the monitor in the back room, and the commercial plays. And it shows me, and it shows the pizza. And he looks at me, and he says, we got him. That was it. That's the only time that I ever kind of understood that I had a little bit of power contractually and used it. I never used it. You asked originally about politics. I had a lot of power, quote unquote, in WCW at one point, but I always, and I'm not fucking baby facing bullshit. You know me by now. Yeah. I always felt bad about guys who have been in the business for 20 fucking years and they're jumping off a building for $20. And here comes Goldberg 6 months into the business and I got the fucking belt and I'm making whatever. Okay? So as a businessman, if I had no fucking heart, then I wouldn't have given a shit. And I would have just said, you know what? My bank account's getting huge. Fuck these other schmucks. Put them in the back seat, and who cares about them? But I cared. Bobby Eaton. I wanted to put Bobby Eaton over at his hometown on his birthday in a dark match during my streak. They wouldn't let me do it. Nobody fucking tells you about that fucking story, but it's always Goldberg, he was selfish and he was this and that and he was a fucking blow. Fuck you. So I'll never forget. I think it was within my first 5 matches or 10 matches, I'm wrestling Barb. Barb and Ming were my mentors in a lot of ways, like the Steiners and in a way, Kevin. I go to the top rope with Barb. He belly to bellies me from the top rope. Whatever, fuck. I'm going to do whatever these guys want me to do because this is Barb, right?
Yeah, Barbarian.
And I'm in the business for a very short period of time, but I know who he is. And as a man and as a human being, you got to respect this guy. This guy's a fucking big teddy bear, but he's a family man. He cares about people, and he can crush you with one fucking hand.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody's got my best interest at heart, right? So I do anything that anybody asks. So after the match, we're walking to the back. Bischoff runs up to me. He goes, "Don't you ever fucking do that again." I said, "What?" He goes, don't you ever go to the top rope and let anybody ever do that to you again. I said, why? I mean, it's Barb. He'll take care of me. I mean, well,
it's logical. He's not only a big, bad motherfucker. I mean, he's Barb.
Exactly.
So, but Bischoff was trying to protect you.
Exactly, which I completely understood from that promoter's standpoint. But at the end of the day, I had power at times. I never used it maliciously. I saw shit that was going on with Rodman coming in, with Hogan and with Kevin and what all those guys were doing. And, hey, man, at the end of the day, just let Barry and Henry deal with the money, and I'll come in, I'll do my job, I'll shut up because I ain't a fucking booker. I'm not
a booker either.
I don't have any idea that's better than who am I to give an idea about who should beat me and who should, except for on logic. I based everything on logic. If you hit me if you shot me with a howitzer and put Rey Mysterio on top of me and counted 1, 2, 3, I'm all good with that. But if you did something illogical, then that's when I'd say something.
Right.
Then that's when I'd put my foot down, because I believed that if you're building this monster, then logic, I don't know the wrestling business, but logic's kind of going to tell me that if you put chinks in his armor along the way, in a goofy, satirical way, then it demeans the product, and you might as well have not built it in the first place.
When you said that you guys had them, meaning WCW, when the pizza commercial aired, how do you mean you had them at that point? From a leverage standpoint of negotiating, because you were on the
absolutely
gimmick pizza commercial?
We're standing in the house that Little Caesars built.
Right.
We're looking at it. It's over there through the window.
Yeah.
So, yeah, leverage, That brought them to the negotiating table.
Here's the thing that you were smart enough to do at a very early age in the business, although you weren't so young on a chronological level. How old were you when you got into the wrestling business?
Shit, I can't remember, but I'd been in the
30?
league. I've been in the league for 5 years. I was older than that.
Okay, but my point is, a lot of guys, myself included, when you come into the business, all of a sudden you're sitting in a room, and this is just the way it happens. You're in a room. We're over in the corner of Bill's man cave right here. His gym is right over to my right. But let's just say we're in a dressing room, and the dressing room might be 8 by 8 feet, and you're in there, maybe with Vince, with Jim, somebody else, maybe Bruce Pritchard. You might be whoever it is. That's who you're there with, and there's a contract right there laying on the table. And, well, here's all the reason you should sign it. And I'm like, well, yeah, it looks all right. And you're intimidated, and you're too stupid because you come from Edna, Texas. And you always heard when I was growing up, Bill, someone would say, yeah, well, I'm going to talk to my lawyer about this, or I got a call from my lawyer the other day. And as a kid, I would think, well, who in the fuck would ever need a lawyer? Because unless you got sued or you got in some trouble, but I wasn't a troublemaking kind of guy. So I'll never need a lawyer. So a lot of guys were hesitant, and they got bullied or just pushed into a contract. It was the old starving rock and roll contract, Bill. You just signed the paper, you want to fucking wrestle, there's the amount of money you're going to make, and you ain't got no leverage. So I signed a couple of those. You were smart enough. Hogan was smart enough to have a lawyer way before anybody.
I didn't reinvent the wheel. The reality is that...
Did anybody give you a heads up? Or what? Your brothers and your father was super smart.
I came from the NFL.
Right, you're right.
I came from a profession.
You came from agents.
I had an agent. And, I picked up the phone before I signed with WCW. I picked up the phone. I called Jim Ross. Jim Ross gets me an appointment with Vince. I fly up to Vince, and I'm sitting in the office. And all of a sudden, an epiphany hits me that I didn't call my lawyer. I didn't have but the only reason why I didn't have my lawyer is because he's football. It's the NFL, right? What the hell is he going to do with wrestling? And I say it out loud. And the secretary, God bless her soul, I hope you're still not there, because if you are, you're probably going to get fired right now. She said, oh, Vince doesn't like lawyers. And I went, ding. I'm never doing anything in this entire business without that right guy. Right. And then, but I'm in the shower somewhere, I think in Atlanta, with Nash and all the guys after the match. And, he looks over to me and he goes, man, I'm my guy, he might be good for you. And I'm like, okay, this is the start of me getting somebody right that knows, that has wrestling in their wheelhouse and that can represent me well in what I'm doing, because a football guy is not going to know what's up. So, yeah, I had the luxury of having two older brothers who went through being businessmen before me, and I knew that, once you enter the circus, you got to have somebody representing you.
Hey, go back to your. I'll never talk dollar figures with you on the back end, but let's talk on the front end, because when I got into the business in WCW, well, first of all, when I got in Dallas, I was making $15 and $20 a night, and then when I worked for Jarrett and USWA, I was making $15, $20 a night. And dude, those were some brutal car trips, and it was the funnest time of my life. I was starving to death, but I was learning a shit pile of information about the business of pro wrestling and working with some extremely talented guys. All of a sudden, I'm starting to get a little traction due to my high-profile feud with Chris Adams. I get a call from Tom Pritchard. He goes, hey, man, because Tom was hooked in. He was connected. He goes, hey, Dusty wants to talk to you down there in WCW. That's when Dusty had the book. I flew down to Atlanta. I visited with Dusty. I said, yeah, man, I'm working heel. I'm working a Stunning Steve. He goes, yeah, baby, I've been seeing you on the television. I like what you do. And he brought me in. Okay, here's the deal. When you first signed with WCW, your first contract was $75,000. This was back in the day. Then your contract rolled over and went to $156. Sometimes it went to $105, but most time it went to $156. After that second year, then it was a free-for-all. You were up for negotiation. So, dude, when you go from making $15, $20 a night to 75 G's, that is a shitload of money.
Absolutely.
Now, in the big scheme now, not so much.
Well, it's all relative.
But first year, not anything after the first year. When you came in first year, what kind of dough were you making?
I can't remember, to be perfectly honest with you, man. I don't remember, but I know that I never made more than the minimum in the NFL. So which was, I can't fucking, man, 150, something like that in my last
It wasn't
year.
A shitload.
So it wasn't a shitload by any stretch of the imagination.
The big money was to become, once you got the agent, the lawyer in place, and you had the leverage.
Within 6 months or 8 months, when I went from wrestling dark matches with Manny Fernandez at Universal Studios to, wrestling Scott Hall and Hogan at the Georgia Dome, I was making more in 6 months than I did playing in the NFL in a year, exponentially.
How did you fit into the locker room when you first came in? All of a sudden, there's this big fucking jacked up dude, and you had a look and a presence. And all of a sudden, you're getting in the ring, you get a mega push. I mean, because people started responding to you. Dude, you got over. You had a presence, you had a gimmick, you had a look, you had the explosion. To get over, you establish a relationship with the crowd, and that crowd has expectations from you from then on, in your career. Like you said, the chinks in the armor, if you're building something. But you have to identify with that crowd, whether it's love or hate. They bought into the Goldberg thing. So all of a sudden, you get hotter than you probably got hotter than anybody in a short run that I've ever seen in the history of the business. How did that impact the locker room and people's perception of you? Now, you said earlier, you're just trying to help everybody out, but all of a sudden you're turning into a mega star. How did the temperature change?
It was, there were,
there had been a lot of guys resent you.
They were hot and cold. There's always the resentment. There's always the Steven Regal match. How can you paint anything other than resentment on that match other than that? The office didn't tell him to go out there and try to take advantage of me and beat up a guy who had no idea what the fuck was going on.
So what was that match?
Ask Steve. I have no idea. I just know he tried to kick my face in a couple times, and I was just giving him my face. And hey, at the end of the day, man, I still don't know. It's all good, man. He's a shooter. He and the other, dude who was there at the time, Dave Taylor, it's all good. If that made him feel better, then fine. But, I don't get it. I'd love to fucking scrap with him right now. It'd be beautiful. I'd love to at the time of knowing what he was going to do. But at the end of the day, it was resentment.
But was that a learning example? Was that a learning experience for you? Because obviously you didn't know what's going on.
Everything you do is a learning experience.
Thank you.
Everything you do, both good and bad. I told my son last night after they got the shit beat out of him in a baseball game. I said, you know what? You can't look at it in a negative tone because you got a hit. You did great behind the plate. You threw a guy out at second base. You have to take negatives and turn them into positives. Okay? And, hey, I didn't trust every single motherfucker past that point. Right. When guys wanted to set stuff up, I questioned it from that point. So in a way, it was good for me. In a way, it was the downfall of my attitude towards the business.
So did you become disenchanted with the business?
Yeah, because at the end,
Why? Because
there's always going to be people. No, but there's always going to be people that take advantage of other people, no matter what circumstance it is. And I worked my ass off at the power plant. Ask anybody who went with me. Ask
Diamond Dallas
anybody, dude. I had video cameras set up. I'd study fucking hours of the UFC. When the UFC had the instructional tapes out, like Shamrock had one, Severn had one. Goodrich, everybody had one. I studied every single thing. I watched tapes. I watched freaking hours of UWF. I watched Japanese pancrase. I watched everything, and I try to emulate the moves there. Robbie Rage, high voltage. Those guys, Kenny Chaos, man. And then I owned that big MMA gym at the time. Man, I was a student of the craft. I wasn't Dallas Page by any stretch of the imagination. I couldn't sit there and give you a 14-page, outline of a match. I couldn't look at it from that analytical standpoint. But if you give me a scenario where you want violence, I can fucking give you violence like anybody that's ever stepped in the ring or anywhere else. It's like doing, some of these movies and watching a stunt coordinator go through a fight scene, and you're like, really? You get paid to do that? If you would have asked me, I could have given you something a lot cooler in a very shorter period of time.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
You own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. Before I want to get to another question, but you brought up Diamond Dallas Page's name. I've watched that match that you had with Dallas 4 or 5 times.
Hell, that was the only good one I had.
No, it was an outstanding match. How was working with Dallas? Because y'all rocked the fucking house on that. But, and again, I think when Dallas was telling me the story, I think when you hit the turnbuckle, you got lit up and pretty much out on your feet.
I speared him, I knocked myself out.
So what happened?
I was out. I don't remember.
Because he had to kick out of something, or you were supposed to kick out of something.
I had him in the jackhammer, and I dropped him behind me, and he diamond cutted me, and I was out. I couldn't pick him up for the jackhammer, and I got him up somehow. I don't know. I mean, hey man, I took it to a different level. That's why I'd like to think that's why people appreciated what I did. Looking back on it, and doing Jim Kelly's golf tournament this last weekend, and teeing off at 8:00 in the morning with Ted Hendricks and a bottle of Crown Royal. A guy whose jersey should be on that wall, who's an idol of mine, who, one of these days may succumb to, this concussion thing in the NFL. I wouldn't change it for the world, but there are lockers and doors all around the country where there wasn't a match that I had that I didn't headbutt something full force, just to get in the mood to go out there and go from 0 to 100 miles an hour for the people that enjoyed the violence of what I did, So you had to put yourself in a state of high animation? No question. And the worst part about it, that's the good part. The bad part is coming down from that. And you know that.
Man, it was real interesting, the highs and lows of the business, the come down. And a lot of guys meet harm's way just because they resort to a lot of bad shit. And there have been a lot of guys that have been in the ring at a real young age, from 20s, 30s, generally the 40s, and they're kicking a bucket. What was the deal for you coming down after a big match? To me, it was just riding down the road and I'd start drinking beer, or I might be in some Crown or whatever. Wasn't no big deal. But for me, all I did was turn the volume up, because I was almost stone cold all the time back then. I just turned the volume up a couple of levels.
It was just like after a football game. It was no different for me. I just tried to get as quiet as possible. I mean, I was smart enough at that point. I mean, I went out and I did some things and, had a lot of fun.
But who were you traveling with?
Well, when I tell you that, you're going to know why I have just a little bit of coolness in me. You know, I mean, I traveled with Hennig. I traveled with the Steiners, man. I traveled with Nash. Hennig, God rest his soul, was one of the coolest human beings. Rick Rude, I traveled with Rude.
He was
so
great.
Now you know.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, they didn't give a shit about taking advantage of me. The Steiners knew I was a hard-ass football player. I was a jock. Okay, Hennig appreciated me because I was that jock, but had a huge sense of humor and appreciated the business and would help people out. And inherently am a nice guy because at the end of the day, because I care about the kids. You know, Rude, he was just a man's man, dude. He was
That's the way I always described him. If there was something on his mind, he would tell you exactly what was on his mind.
Like Fry.
Yeah.
He looks, talks, acts exactly like Fry.
And I think Fry is going into the MMA Hall of Fame.
I got a funny story about that. I'm watching
I haven't seen Don Fry in 10 years. Tell me a Fry story.
I'm watching 199, and it was one of the best fight cards I've seen.
God damn, it was good.
And finally, Fry gets inducted, right? And so immediately I pick up the phone and I call him, and I hear shit in the background. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Dude, congratulations." He goes, "What'd they do?" I said, "Man, they inducted you in the UFC Hall of Fame." He goes, "No shit." Really? I'm like, "Yeah, are you going to be there?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'll be there, you know." But, I mean, and I text Dana, and you know what? Dana doesn't give a shit what Goldberg says. But at the end of the day, we were all fans. We wouldn't be a part of the business if we weren't, even Dana. So to see a guy at this point in his life / career, a guy who was part of the building blocks for this multi-billion-dollar fucking business we call MMA right now, finally getting his due when during my fucking bachelor party, they didn't have an extra ticket for Don Fry to the UFC. It's a cool day.
Man, talking about MMA, I was watching an old video on YouTube not too long ago. Well, it's been a while, but it's when Kimbo Slice came up there to do some sparring with you, and all of a sudden, Kimbo ain't with us. What do you think about that? Because that caught me out of the blue, dude.
You know, if you go to my Instagram, there's a picture of me, of Kimbo and I and Conan Silveira. Conan's a friend of mine from back in the Pride days, man, when I worked for Hustle One and they co-promoted with Pride, and I met him over there when they put it on the map. But Kimbo didn't look great then, man. He didn't look like the Kimbo that I met the first time at Elite XC over at Showtime, and you can never forecast anything like that, you know, because we're all getting up in age, and at me weighing 265 right now, people look at me and probably think I look sick. So all I can say is at the end of the day, I think shit's going to hit the fan with the commissions. That's the big thing that's going to come out of this, which I hope so, because, you know, commissions everywhere need to be, you know, curtailed. But
in what regard? Why would he spark something from a commission?
Man, I mean, between he and his opponent in that last fight, whether it's going to a certain state that has a more lenient commission, or whether it's, I'm not accusatory by any stretch, whether it's, you know, doctor and documents, or making it easier for some guy who shouldn't be fighting.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got you.
I don't know. I mean, I personally believe that, hey, man, I was considering a fight with Glory Kickboxing a year ago. And, you know, I would have been 49 years old at the time. And me to pass a physical as a 49-year-old, though I can guarantee you I'm in absolutely smoking shape for a 49-year-old, still there are red flags, you know. So at the end of the day, the one thing that I can tell you that if you didn't meet Kimbo, we're not blessed with his presence. He's one of the sweetest freaking guys you ever meet, dude. He's the antithesis of what people thought of him. He really was a great, kind, and family guy, and he was a funny guy, man. And you know, it's sad.
You brought up the CTE thing, the concussion word, in your football career, in your wrestling career. How many concussions do you think you suffered from? A shit pile?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's no question.
Are you feeling the effects? I mean, have you ever thought about, either donating your brain, getting a scan?
I've never
doing
been
anything
the smartest guy
preemptive
in the world, man. And my short-term memory is brutal, and we always laugh it off, and we have for years. I mean, the reality is, the whole concussion thing in the NFL and the lawsuit, I mean, that's a whole different podcast. And that's, but if you don't think that there's going to be some type of trauma at a sport like that, then, you're not the smartest motherfucker in the world. But there's, and the deal is coming out with Ali about they don't think that they're not 100% sure that the blows of the head were the cause of Parkinson's.
Right.
But, I mean, and logic's going to tell you, man, that, if you consistently bang your head against a hard object, then there's going to be some detrimental effect. So, have I felt it? I don't know. I'm getting older and things are going to slow down. But, I mean, I wouldn't change anything for the world. The state that I'm in right now, I mean, the negative effects that I feel, whether it be an ache or a pain or whether my vision not being like it was or me not being as strong and whatever.
Well, you're not going to be as strong just because of age, but on a 1 to 10, 1 being real, let's say 1 being real shitty and 10 being $1 million on just an average basis, pain-wise or just general health-wise, where would you put your level right now? 10 is great, 1 is
We're talking about,
shits.
when we touched on cardio a minute ago. If cardio is the determining factor of a health fitness level, fuck, I'm in the best shape of my life.
Okay.
If it's predicated upon aches and pains,
yeah.
I'm 145 years old. But, my mentality is such that, I got, I don't know, last year, these 4 toes right here, I smashed every one of them in the ring. Then I did an endo on my four-wheeler and smashed them again. But it doesn't prohibit me from going in because I tape them together and I live through the pain because at the end of the day, the good thing that I get out of it is much better than the bad thing. So the problem with me and guys like me and you is that our pain tolerance is such at a level that we'll deal with it and accept it and know that the rest of our lives we're going to be in pain. So to answer your question, man, I don't know. I'm in a lot of pain.
Okay, here's a question.
But it doesn't stop me from doing anything I want to do.
Alarm clock goes off, or you just wake up. You just jump out of bed and start running around.
I'm Nick Nolte from North Dallas 40.
There you go. Okay, if no one has seen North Dallas 40, Nick Nolte getting out of bed is one of the greatest scenes in the world.
And nobody's seen North Dallas 40. They don't know what football was like in the NFL during the 70s and 80s.
Or a wrestler's life after been down the road a few times.
It's the wrestler. It's the same exact. I told a guy in the NFL that had been there 13 years at Jared Allen's golf tournament, which you have to go to next year because it's called Night Ops. It's Homes for Heroes. It's a great charity, man. The guys that absolutely fucking love you because they like me and they just think I'm you, and that's why they like me. So at the end of the day, I can't remember why I got into that story, but
do you jump out of bed? No, North Dallas 40.
Oh, North Dallas, yeah. So there was a guy.
This is 2 guys getting hit down with steel chairs and concussions. Please continue.
Exactly. There was a guy.
Please continue, John.
Steve? Oh, no, that is your name.
Yeah.
I thought you were my brother. So there's a guy that had been in the league like 14 years. He played for Carolina, but he'd never heard of North Dallas 40. And so I was giving him an analogy of what the league was like. And I said, dude, if you want to know, don't listen to what I say. Just rent this movie. So, man, it's just absolutely the one. It's the top. It's above The Longest Yard in my book.
Let me ask you real quickly. I don't want to go into politics. I don't want to discuss who's Republican, who's Democrat. But I voted the other day, and I went to the little ballot box, and I punched that name, and it's like, I hope I'm doing the right thing because, man, I'm scared to death about what's going to happen come the end of this election. On one side, I can't believe that person's on the ballot. On the other hand, I can't believe that this person's on the other end of the ballot. I know which one I'd rather have running the country, and I'll leave it at that. Are you going to vote, and what do you think about candidates in this year's election?
I was on The Celebrity Apprentice, remember?
Yes.
Because of Vince's relationship with Donald, I felt as though I had enough marks against me therefore, I exclaimed that I wouldn't be on the show if someone from the WWE was there, because then I'd have Vince and Donald against me. Yes, I'm going to vote. Am I going to vote like I'm blindfolded and I'm throwing a dart at a dartboard? Man, I think I'm going to just follow in Brock's footsteps. I'm moving to Canada. My wife's down here, on me. I'm going up there on her. I don't, man. We're in a really sorry ass state, man. We really are. I don't know. I mean, the irresponsibility on one side and the corporate politician on the other, and the lack of trust. And at the end of the day, it's the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
But as a responsible American who was voting for the leader of our country, are you kidding me? That's our choice? My brother's like besties with Bill, and I mean, I know a lot of things that a lot of people probably don't know, and I'm comfortable in that the experience on that side will maybe even everything out. But, man, I think we're in kind of dire straits looking at the options, man. It's a sad day. It really is. I mean, it sucks. It's a sad day because not necessarily,
Let me cut you off.
It's a sad day because the President of the United States is going to be chosen based upon personality, based upon outrageousness, based upon other factors like that, as opposed to real policy.
Things that matter.
The problem.
One thing and last thing I want to, and it's on a wrestling note, but to me, it's like when I watch a lot of the stuff leading up to the election, a lot of the newscasts, or listen to people being interviewed. Man, people these days, or the younger generation, I don't want to say millennials, I'm going to put all the blame on the millennials. Vince McMahon said the word millennials on my podcast when I did the Stone Cold podcast about a year ago. I never heard the word millennial in my life till he said it. Whatever. I'll just say younger generation. Or people that just don't know, and they just voting on a figure that they've seen forever on TV, or because someone was married to a president that served 2 terms, Bill Clinton. I think people are not just misinformed, they're uninformed. Nobody knows what the fuck is really going on. Nobody really knows what policy either one has. They're just voting on, hey, I like this person because this. And there's no valid reason.
People do things to be part of the masses, not because there's a reason behind it. Unfortunately, that's the way that it is, because therefore they can be out in public, they can take pictures of themselves, they can document it, and oh, God forbid they be involved with something that's earth-shattering to where they can make a liberal stand on it.
Last wrestling question. And then if you got another hour to give me, I'd like to go through your cars and just talk about them. If you don't, I'll ride off in the sunset. My question is, what ultimately led to you saying, hey, man, you know what? I've been here. I've done that. It's time to ride off in the sunset as far as my wrestling career goes.
There were a lot of factors to it, man. I mean, it wasn't fun for me anymore. I felt like, up at the WWE, I always felt like there was something fighting against me. I mean, whether I was being paranoid, which whatever, it's just the feeling that I had.
Paranoia exists in the business with everybody.
And, it turned out to not be very much fun for me. I felt as though the work that I put forward, the monetary gain that I got was great, but life's not about just money, man. I mean, I wasn't having fun anymore. The only thing that I enjoyed was every once in a while going out there and pressing some dude and dropping him, spearing a guy, and walking out of the ring and grabbing a kid and handing him the belt and, picking him up over my head and making him smile and forget about every single thing that's going on in his life and just being in the moment. That's what I miss about it. But when Rosie, I had a match, and it's documented. I've said this before. When I left the match, I won the match. I'm the hero. I come out, I grab a kid, 5 years old. I pick him up. He's awesome. I walk to the back. I pass Rosie, and I love Rosie to death, man. He's one of the best dudes ever. But he was the superhero in training, and it said shit on his shirt. And here I am, trying to be the eternal good guy and the superhero for kids and speaking on Capitol Hill about cockfighting, and I know it's a fucking work. I get it. There's got to be good and bad and this side and that side. But it was the straw that broke the camel's back, man.
Your contract ended with WWE and you just never renewed?
Yeah.
After a year?
Yeah. And I was pissed off at the end, and like a little kid kicking his books on the way out, and being a little dick. And hey, I don't know, man. It's just it didn't turn out the way I envisioned it.
I think that's a great cliffhanger. Let's end it now, and let's pick it up if you want to. It's Bill Goldberg. I'm hanging out the Goldberg compound, and if he wants to, we're talking cars. Thank you, Bill.
Anytime, dude. Well, the reality is that you ain't going to be able to get out of here because I'm going to kidnap you.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
New to Podcast One Sportsnet, Michael Irvin and Ron Jaworski.
The MIP. I am the MVP of the MIP. I am Michael Irvin, and I got a great show.
It was a shock. It was a shock to the system.
I went to practice the next day. I made every tackle.
No big deal. Any other coach out here, you lose, you will leave too. But let me tell you what I pulled out of last week. It made me say, oh, that's a playmaker right there. Y'all saw it.
I'm the guy, right? I'm the guy.
I'm the guy.
Look out! Trouble is coming.
Hello, everyone. This is Eagles Hall of Fame quarterback Ron Jaworski, and I am so excited to bring you the hottest new podcast for the NFL and gaming. Welcome to Jaws Picks, featuring me, Ron Jaworski, as I give you my expert analysis and predictions of each and every NFL game. And you could hear the quarterbacks like it was a practice. Yeah. And, man, I was just loving hearing the quarterbacks call everything at the line of scrimmage. They've kind of solved some of their problems over the last couple of weeks, man. They were getting gutted on defense, but that's 53.3% correct against the spread.
Download new episodes of the Michael Irvin Podcast every Thursday and Jaws Picks with Ron Jaworski every Wednesday and Friday on all your favorite podcasting platforms.
Support for this podcast comes from Pluto TV. Need an escape? Drop into Pluto TV for a world of free TV. Stream hundreds of channels and thousands of movies and shows, all for free. Yeah, free. No subscriptions, no fees. Imagine 24/7 channels of Narcos, CSI, Star Trek, Survivor, and everything else from hit movies to binge-worthy TV shows. The latest news, live sports, comedy, and more. What are you waiting for? Download the free Pluto TV app for Android, iPhone, Roku, and Fire TV and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.